Are you interested in learning how to light your food photography with natural light? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you the basic setup for natural light for still life and food photography. Hi, I'm Rachel Konek, professional food photographer, helping you take incredible photos that are good enough to eat. Now, don't be fooled. Just because I said the word basic doesn't mean our lighting can't be beautiful. Natural light can be amazing to light our food, whether we're a beginner all the way through to a professional. So all you need to do is set up your scene right next to a window. You can choose any window that you have, any direction, at any time of day. One thing I often get asked is, well, where and how close do we place our subjects to our light source? So our window is our light source, and when we're shooting with natural light, we want to make sure that we are as close to the window as possible. So the closer we are to the light source, this is where the power is going to be. So I recommend this is about 1 meter or 3 feet away from our light source. This is where it's going to be the most powerful, and it's going to be the brightest, and it's going to allow us to have beautiful highlights and shadows. Now you might have noticed that we have this large diffuser in the window here. This is going to be the next piece of the puzzle. So depending on the time of day you're shooting, the direction of the window, you might have light coming straight through. So that is when the sun is coming directly through the window, creating hard light. Soft light is really a beautiful type of lighting for food photography. So we can use a large diffuser in the window to create that soft light. The closer the diffuser is to the window, the more beautiful and powerful your light is going to be. So in this video and this photo, we are using side light. So that is when the light is coming from the side of the frame. Side light is complementary to so many types of food and angles that if you're struggling to know what direction, default to side light. The last piece of our puzzle is how we're going to make modifications to our light on the other side of our setup. So we can use two things. Commonly, we would use a reflector. So you can buy these. This is a handheld one. It comes with different silvers and gold on the inside. And basically, we're going to be placing it on this side of our scene so that we reflect light back onto the scene and fill shadows. So the closer you are to your scene, the more light that's going to be reflected, and the further away, the less light that you're going to reflect. I like using foam boards, so I like to get the ones that are on black on one side, white in the other side. They are really functional, and they're going to help us do two things. So they're going to help us reflect light back onto our scene, so that's the white side, or create what's called negative fill. So negative fill is where we are blocking light, preventing light from being bounced back onto our scene. So what's really great about getting a large one of these is you can cut them up into different sizes. So we can go ahead and be a little bit more strategic about how much light is going to be reflected back onto our scene. So if you don't want to reflect light onto the entire scene, you can go ahead and create some small ones to just be really targeted to where that light is going to be reflected back onto our subject. One of the problems of shooting at home is that we have these beautiful bright rooms with white walls bouncing light every direction back onto our scene. Ideally, we want the light coming from one direction. So if you have lots of white walls bouncing light back onto your scene, or if you have windows in two different places that is bringing light onto the scene, you can go ahead and grab something like a really large foam board that is black, and you can place it on the scene to cut out some of that light that's being reflected around the room. If you don't need to block that much light, this is where the black side of these little foam boards can work. You might just want to enhance the shadows a little bit more. So you can place that strategically closer to your subject. So that's the basic light setup. We have a diffuser, reflector, and negative fill. Now let's jump into the camera and see how these little modifications change the feeling of our light. This video is brought to you by my tethering mini course, Tethered Flow. If you want to understand how to tether like a professional, bring out your creativity and save time, take better photos, then check out tetheredflow.com. So this is our light without any modifications. So just next to a east-facing window. We go ahead and slide in our diffuser. You can see that we're creating softer light, but we also cut out a little bit of the power of light. So we would have to go and change our settings so that we're capturing the light at the exposure that we're after. So I feel like this shot looks really beautiful. I love shadows. Shadows really define our subject. But let's say that you wanted less shadows, you wanted them to be filled and a little brighter. That's where we can use our reflector. So we can bring it in and move it out. And you can see the difference between reflector, see how it's lighting the cake a bit better, and without it. So you go ahead and just play with distance till you feel like those shadows are filled and there is light bouncing back onto our subject. And just say that we love the shadows here, but if you're shooting for a client, maybe they want a little bit more fill on the cake so the cake is brighter. So we can use one of these, and I'm going to go ahead and just bring this in. So you can see how we're lighting the cake, but leaving some of the shadows that the cake stand is creating. So I know that this is in the frame of our shot, but I'm just going to pop that in. So with this small reflector, we're getting really strategic with where we are bouncing light back onto our scene. Here we can just bounce it back onto the subject and leave some shadows that the cake stand is creating. So that is the benefit of having small reflectors and large ones. You can really play around with the look. Now just say that you love moody light, you love shadows, you love how they define your subject. This is where we can use our black foam boards for negative fill. So let's just take a look at how this creates shadows onto our subject. So it is blocking out some of the light that is bouncing back onto our scene from the opposite side of our light source. And you can just see how that is creating a bit more depth, a bit more shadow. So you can go ahead and use something like this if you want to create that look. If we want to go really big and block more light, you can use a large one to place it on your scene to block that light. So let's just take a look at how that is blocking some of the light as we go closer and further away. We can also block light from the top if you had a lighting stand. So let's just see how that changes the lighting on the top of our cake. It's actually going to bring out those beautiful shadows in the icing and really help to define them. And one more thing to think about is you can block light on the same side as your window, as your light source. So let's just take a look at how that changes our shadows and how it really changes the light in our scene. So that is our basic light setup for natural light. With just 3 simple tools, our diffuser, reflector, and negative fill, we can really modify our light to be beautiful. You just need to make sure that you are close to your window so you're working with the most powerful light. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about food photography, check out my courses at courses.toolovestudio.com. If you have any questions about this lighting setup, just pop them in the comments below and I'd be happy to help you out. In the type of day, like a Saturday. So with this small reflector, we're getting really